to the bash plate. This is some serious thought. The way this is designed, the way this cups the underside of the engine, takes care of the water pump, and it's also paired with the engine guard. The way this design works is it's super sleek and compact and allows for a fantastic, even if you were to take this bike on sand, on nice and tight mud, and were to get caught up, what this is going to allow is the motorcycle to keep moving forward without causing friction. It's because of the way it curves. It just beautifully curves at the bottom side. There's this fantastic structure that I'm talking about. It's a beautiful thought. One piece aluminum, unlike all the crap that's out there in the market, which is starting to bother me now. I don't want to quote the manufacturer's name here, but they are just going all out with riveting 4, 5, 6 parts together to make one part. Yeah, it's easier to cut flat pieces and then rivet them together and get something done rather than have a press and molding machine like this. But this is some serious thought. One piece aluminum pressed into a cast that takes the shape of this. This is a crazy shape. If you guys were to see how this thing is going to act when you get caught up in deep mud, this is going to allow for all that mud to slide underneath without getting caught up. There's no friction that this thing is going to cause, and this is definitely not going to. So if I were to compare it to the guard that we have on Ben, which is an SW Motec serious bash plate. This is like a proper enduro bash plate. Now the advantage to this is about 4 millimeters thick, and this thing can take beating all day long without having anything damage it. But the problem with this is, if you look at this, that right angle, this right angle could have been a curve. If this was a curve, this would not get stuck up in tight technical riding. This thing acts like a bash plate. It just kind of grabs nice tight packed mud because of this sharp angle and that flat wall of impact. Now you do not want a design like that. And this design is good enough if you have enough ground clearance, but this is not like a very nice thought for a 220, 230, 240 millimeter motorcycle. Rather, something which curves up over there is any given day a lot more sand, tight packed mud, trail riding bash plate. This thing has caught up many times, and I've been left wondering if only they had curved this, they had kind of shaved it off, not gotten a sharp angle over there, rather had a curved angle, this thing would have been a 10 on 10. A monstrous bash plate, no doubts about it. But if you look at the Royal Enfield Rally Guard, this is some serious business, really nice and curvy. And it also has these reliefs. The advantage of these reliefs and these bends is this will also allow for muck build-up to fall down on its own. It's because you don't really have a flat structure for things to keep piling up and holding on. Rather, when you have these ups and downs, all that muck build-up can fall off because there's not enough surface area to cling on to. That's another smart thought. One more thing, if I were to just be a little more courageous to talk about, is another thing that caught my eye is the way this curves upwards towards the bottom side of the engine. Is when air hits this, when air is going to hit this at a nice pace, it's also going to deflect air onto the bore and the block. The block and the head is definitely going to have some increased velocity. I mean, air is going to have some increased velocity because of this, the way this curves upwards. If you guys can see, it's definitely going to allow for some kind of wind deflection. By that I mean wind is going to be charged up when it hits the bore and the head. Also going to allow for cooling, better cooling. Just assuming, things could, I could be totally wrong, but just you guys let me know. The engineers out there, you guys can let me know if what I'm talking about makes sense or not. Otherwise, this seriously looks like it means business. If you look at it carefully, you will understand how this has been designed. It's just a beautiful curve that's going to allow for air to kind of increase its velocity and kind of help with cooling again. So yeah, and the way this cups the underside is it cups till here. You don't have an exposed linkage system like on Ben. On the 452, you don't really have to worry about anything. So the bash plate ends right there. Good enough. Now, one more thing that's interesting about this is this bash plate does not mount to the motorcycle in any way. This bash plate mounts to the engine guard, and only the engine guard. It doesn't really mount to the motorcycle. And this engine guard mounts to the chassis over here. And over here it's a tight fit. You'll have to remove the foot peg bracket completely to kind of hook this onto the foot peg bracket in a weird position. And then here, so there are two points of mounting, one over here and one over here. Pretty self-explanatory, no need to worry. All you need to do is just order this kit and figure it yourself. And then there's a support bracket. I mean, there's this support column from here to there, and the left hand side is pretty straightforward. Engine mount and mounts on the underside. There are two bolts coming in from the engine. There's a clamp, so this mounts to the bottom side of that, and I think that should help. There's more than enough videos out there on the bash plate and things like that, but I just want to touch up on these beautiful design points which I think will help all of you make the right choice. Do not go with all the crap that's being put out in the market by all these manufacturers. There's so much that's being put out, and well, this would be double the cost, but really smart design. You'll be paying for really good design, and a design that you don't have to really worry about. This thing, the only downside to this is about 2 millimeters thick, not even 2 millimeters. Yeah, this is 2 millimeters thick. And 2 millimeter thick aluminium is just going to protect you from so much. It's not going to protect you from beating rocks all day long. It's not going to take on rocks all day long. It's going to take on rocks every once in a while, but then again, this is not going to be your protector for the motorcycle if you were to do hard enduro and serious rock riding. So that's the only downside to this. But otherwise, for people who want to do all kinds of off-road riding on trails and soft, smooth sand and mud and muck, do not have to worry about it. This will keep your bike rolling without getting it stuck anywhere. That's the most important thing as far as designing a beautiful crash guard, engine guard goes. Well, that's that. And with the engine guard, even that, if you were to look at it, it's just that wide. It's not sticking out a little too much. You don't really need a guard that sticks out too much on this particular motorcycle. Do not, for the love of God, do not buy this motorcycle and then end up throwing in this huge cradles. This thing doesn't need a cradle. The cradle is right here. This is what's going to protect you from falls. This is super solid, they say. I haven't really drop tested the machine, but for all the fellows who have put it down, they all say that this is the point of contact and this doesn't bend. Unlike the 411. The 411 was too thin a tubing. This thing has very good mounting points. It mounts on the chassis, and it's also rock solid. So this is the widest point of contact, and you don't have to worry about the motorcycle if it's going to go to the ground. Do not end up adding all that nonsense, adding weight to the machine, lose its beautiful handling, and then end up complaining about the bike being too heavy, and then wait for a Himalayan 600, which is another 200 kgs. Please do not do that. Don't add all that weight to the machine. If you guys are looking out for an engine guard, get this. Or the other one that Royal Enfield has is something that protrudes a little more to the outside of the machine, just a little more. One thing that I found with that was it would interfere with my leg. If I were to put the leg down and start moving the bike with me being on one side of the motorcycle, I will have to be a little conscious of that engine guard, because it might catch my leg. But this is stealth mode, man. Nobody's going to even notice that this thing has an engine guard. And what you need on this bike is an engine guard, not really a leg guard or a crash guard. Well, if this helped, it helped. Ben signing out for now. Ciao.